Thank you very much, Jacques. And you heard it from CLG themselves. They actually thought SKT is the better team. Overall, analyst desk 2-1 in favor of SKT as well. And with a game like that, you kind of feel like SKT is a pretty damn strong team.
And Arshan just saying what we've been saying pretty much this whole time. RNG's biggest strength is also their greatest downfall, the fact that they can play fearlessly. And SKT tries to do calculated aggression and calculated absorption of RNG's aggression, and that's really how the series is going to play out.
And I think SKT's biggest strengths, I mean, they have a lot of strengths, is when they actually know they can finish a game, they are like on point with it. Like in 2 seconds, they will take their lead and like snowball it quicker than any team I think we've ever seen in League of Legends. So I think that is something that RNG really cannot do. It's something that they've struggled with all tournament long. SKT never give you that window back into the game.
Yeah. I mean, if Royal could close games out like SKT did, they'd be 10-0 heading into this part of the bracket because their 2 losses were 2 huge comeback losses where they didn't close the game out properly.
I do have to say, though, that it's funny. In the close games, RNG was undefeated. It's in the games where they were winning by a fair bit that they were able to get come back on. And yeah, I was also surprised to see everyone be like, I'm glad he's playing Soraka. It's like, do you like winning? You don't want other people to play Soraka because it's your secret pick coming into this tournament. But Wolf has been able to adapt to it. And I'd actually expect a Soraka ban coming into this game in place of either the Alistar or the Maokai, and I think that will have ripple effects into the rest of the ban phase, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I guess it depends what your strategy is, right? Do you continue to take double teleport and hope they play the shove-up game? Because you have to remember that even though things went awry, they got a free kill onto the Soraka. If they just reset that lane, they go up by 1 kill. Instead, they gave 2 back. So that was RNG overreaching. So I don't necessarily agree. I still think you can attack Soraka if she's with Sivir in a pushing, but that requires RNG to be disciplined. After absolutely taking out SKT in game 1, you saw that they lapsed a little bit in that regard, and SKT just punished them so much.
Asking RNG to be disciplined is like asking gravity to turn off. It requires some pretty serious technology. I want to talk about a player real quick, though. I want to talk about Faker. Because Faker went off so hard that previous game. He did 22,000 damage to champions last game versus 4,400 from the counter pick mid laner of LeBlanc.
In a 23-minute game. Like, damage dealt to champions goes up almost exponentially as the game extends in time. And the fact that this was a 23-minute game and Faker did nearly 1,000 damage per minute is insane.
Let's go beyond that. The fact that he won the counter matchup, like, pretty much single-handedly, I mean, no summoner spells on anyone, still manages to get the solo kill. That should not happen if you're Xiaohu. So I just think that, you know, Faker, Xiaohu's thrown the gauntlet at him maybe 1 too many times, and you can only poke God so much before he comes back.
And keep in mind, like, as we talk about the context of that solo kill, like, yes, there were some, you know, junglers coming in at some point, but this was after MLXG burned both the Faker summoners, and then Faker still just goes and takes down Xiaohu afterwards. Like, definitely some really good play by him. And this is now the concern is, look, SKT were the ones that banned Azir in game 1. Then they let it go up, and then they took it first round red side. This is the kind of situation where this is why you pick red side, is you get those 2 picks on that first round before blue side gets to react to you again. And if you're locking up first picking Nidalee, or you're locking up first picking the Rise, well, Faker's Azir comes through. And you have to, again, change up your strategy as Royal and get some of these high-profile champions off players like Faker.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see the ripple effects of the pick and ban phase here, because even though RNG has been playing blue side, their strategy has actually been to bait in the counter pick, so to speak. They starve the top lane to pick the counter pick Trundle, or they early lock Azir and swap the lanes after they already see Fakers. So it's been a very unique take on the way to do pick and ban.
Yeah, so maybe too cute. Like, the fact that you're willing to swap the Rise around in a meta where we've seen him pretty much solo be a mid laner, like, it's one of those times where maybe they thought themselves into a deficit, because Rise definitely has to scale, definitely has to hit a couple of items, and is exposed in a longer lane.
Well, we'll see what that matchup ends up being like in game 3. But as we get ourselves into that game, we want to first hear from Koma about SKT's pressure coming into this one.
일단 한국에서는 뭐 저희가 전승 우승할 거다. 뭐 그냥 쉽게 이길 거다. 이런 식으로 너무 많이들 이야기하셔가지고 너무 큰 부담이 됐어요. 한 판 한 판 이기기가 되게 힘들 거라고 생각하고 왔었는데 한국 같은 경우에 이제 너무 그런 게 부담감이 너무 심해서 그게 좀 가장 힘들었었던 것 같습니다.
And I know coming into this matchup as well, the interview with SKT after they won the spring split in Korea was, we want to prove that Tigers are the second best team in the world. We want to prove that Korea is so dominant that there's no question that the team that we beat 3-1 coming into this is right beneath us.
Well, if they have 5 more games like the one they just had, I think they would prove that fact. But from what we've seen so far, they have definitely not proven that fact. And it looks like a lot of these other teams are playing a lot more fearless against SKT, which was unlike the way we've seen teams play against Korean teams in international events before.
And that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, Worlds last year, you have to respect these teams, but you also have to play against them fearlessly like you can beat them. I feel like North America, as well as the Chinese regions, felt like they went back into themselves and really didn't play their style of gameplay. This time around at MSI, both of them are just going pretty hard at the Korean lineup, and it's come out with a couple of wins so far.
And I respect that. I like that. It's the mantra that CLG is coming in. Respect them all, of course, but don't fear any of them, right? Come in and make sure you're able to take care of business. Play your style of League of Legends. And I am kind of glad that these teams are still sort of playing their style. SKT have found what that control style is yet again. Royal still playing very aggressively, which is very fun to watch, of course.
Yeah, well, I thought the ban phase would change with Maokai and Alistair maybe being dropped, but not the case for RNG. Maybe they just change around their first pick and they actually ban Rise, which maybe means they'd want to first pick Azir.
Depends on what else you think might be contested. I do think Azir would be a good first pick. Again, I don't really like Blink's Nidalee that much, and now they've got to decide, do they want to ban it away, or do they actually like the champion after all? They'd give away Sivir, but that's not the worst thing in the world.
The other thing is a pinch on Whoosh actually worked last game. He was nearly rendered ineffective on the Kalista, so I respect the fact that they stick with that and still take away 280 carries.
Yeah, which would mean that the Sivir would come immediately in this rotation, but the question will be what they put it with. This time, because the third top lane ban was dropped, they can actually just go for the Echoes, so SKT is actually very comfortable with this trade.
They are. In saying that, I really do think that Sivir suffers against Azir, because Azir does in a team fight what Sivir hates, and that is create a divide between tanks and backline threats. And I really do think that, like, every single game I watch this happen, if the Azir is played well, which we know Xiaohu can do, it limits that damage so much from Bang.
And now we get to see how much these teams think the early game matters, because we knew coming into the tournament, look, the top tier list is Nidalee and the 2 marksman junglers and the Graves and the Kindred. Last game, SKT said, we could play Graves, but you know what? We just rather get ourselves the Elise, get the early game pressure. You would actually see in Royal also hovering Elise in this champ select and maybe switching the style.
And I really like this comp out of RNG. They play it a lot. Normally, you have an 80 carry for consistent damage and a mid laner for burst. This time around, they actually have initiation out of the 80 carry and consistent damage out of the mid laner. It also means that Whoosh gets to set up behind that wall like a sniper would and just take people out.
Yeah, because if we watch the way he played Jhin when he played it against SKT, it was using Curtain Call at the beginning of fights. They also did have Alistair, though, to capitalize on the slows that he was able to put out. That is, of course, banned this game. And what is not banned is the Soraka, which we may see for a 3rd game in a row from Wolf.
And it's been good, right? The Soraka just continues to put pressure in situations where you don't expect. This time it's not going to be paired with an Azir where you can scoop people into the silence field. But it's just such an annoying ability to deal with, because sometimes you don't even realize that you've been silenced. Like, you just continue to run forward. Yeah. It really does mess up a lot of combos.
Soraka Graves still grabbed up here, and it is SKT going back to a marksman jungler here, so the Elise not going to come through. Their comp is going to fit that pretty well. They will get a very delayed mid lane.
Whoa, they're going for Leona.
Oh, Elise, Leona, the last few pickups. It is hard engage.
And we mentioned the only time you're going to see this is if Alistair is banned and you must have hard engage. I mean, picking up the Elise means that they really do need it, so a Leona pick. That's a kill lane.
It is for sure a kill lane, but if they can't get the aggression, like, it can be really difficult for Leona to chain the CC properly on a Soraka, because she can put silence on herself as your Zenith blading towards, and then Leona can't chain the stun and Soraka can just walk away.
I agree. Once again, if you take this bottom lane in an isolation, I agree, but when you put into effect that they go Elise as the early game jungler, it really isn't that easy to walk out if you're Wolf.
I mean, I do have to credit RNG for their innovation in this pick and ban phase. First team to do the, well, they switched to the Trundle top after banning out 2 top laners and giving the other one away. First team to play Leona here. Also tried to go for the top lane Rise, even though it didn't work. I think we're still in for a great series.
And Faker, of course, with his second Fizz game, it didn't work out in the first one of the series, lost his game to a LeBlanc, even though he played well. Now he has Fizz into Azir. Faker won Azir versus Assassin in game 2. Now it's Xiaohu's turn to play that same sort of matchup, but it's Fizz instead of LeBlanc, and it's going to be a very interesting one. And if you guys at home think it's going to be great, then let us know who it's going to be. Hashtag RNG win, hashtag SKT win. to @LoL eSports. Let us know. 1-1 in this best of 5, and this is now the time to get yourself set up for match point.
And it's funny because SKT comp looks awfully similar to an RNG comp this time around. They need to create chaos on that backline for Jhin to be able to take out the carries, whereas arguably RNG want to kite back until Leona has a perfect engage moment.
Yeah, or RNG is just going to be going super hard, super early, but it's going to be difficult when you're dealing with double teleport. Like, how is RNG going to play that Leona lane aggressively when a Fizz and an Echo can teleport in?
Yeah, that's why you can't go aggressive, because if you ever do that, Jhin dies. Like, if Mata ever goes without seeing the Fizz in front of him first up, you sacrifice your AD carry.
And the more we talk about this, if you're assuming flawless play from both teams, the Leona pick won't work in the laning phase. What it could work for is if they swap it and Leona outroams Soraka, or if we see SKT burning their teleport unnecessarily to unlock the aggression of Leona. It is a big risk for them to be picking it into double TP as well as into a Soraka.
And pressure on MLXG. We mentioned it last game for Blank. He was able to step up and definitely had the impact on Elise that we were looking for. This time, MLXG picks it up, needs to have a similar performance because, I mean, we've seen Infinity Edges and crazy stuff come out of Graves jungle right now. The guy does damage late game that Elise will never hope to replicate.
That's going to be the risk then, is how far will this game go? Does Graves hit that spike? SKT won their game in 24 minutes, and it never mattered if Elise was going to get outscaled against a marksman jungle. Devour definitely never got stacked all the way up.
And they want 2v2 lanes, Jet. They spot out the Soraka, and immediately they go down to match the lanes. They want to kill Wolf.
Yeah, and it's going to be really fun to watch here because a lot of it will have to do with MLXG's first jungle pathing and how well SKT can ward with it, combined with what type of pressure RNG has in the solo lanes for whether or not SKT could match the teleports to stop it, because there are potentially more people that can arrive bottom lane for SKT.
They gave solo experience over to the Leona.
Yes.
They're hoping for an early level 2. They want to go in.
Now, SKT could see that Leona has 1 CS and know that she will hit the level early. I forget exactly which minion it is, but it will not be all 3 melees in the second wave. It'll be before that.
But look at all the harass they're able to get down right away. Leona's nothing at level 1. Trying to heal off with the Targon stacks, but doesn't get level 2 off that minion.
She'll have to burn several potions here. It'll be in the middle of this wave. I think minion number 2, when she'll have both skills.
It's so telegraphed what
is.
they want to do. And Wolf gets
They
caught.
get on the Wolf, exhaust and a whoosh, ignite is on. Do they have the damage? That answer is no. Bang takes some damage back, and Mata slowed down, counterattacked, and he's now low on health.
Counterattack successful, I'd have to say. There's still the heal on Bang, and Mata cannot sustain back up.
Yeah, summon a spell for summon a spell. Now Blank.
Into the mid lane, early flash from Xiao, Blank's got a red buff. This is yours to be careful. And the Trinket Ward spots MLXG.
Whoosh to
Xiao
level
losing
1.
health as well, and he gets hit by the boomerang, and Matza's not going to land it. Even if he did, I think he might have just died as he was going in onto a full health Sivir.
Agreed, but they have the exhaust down from Wolf, and Elise is here long before Blank. They might be looking to go in again.
Cocoon not going to hit Bang, but they will get the root. The stun's going to land. The root will get dodged away. He missed the shot. Whoosh should have been able to hit that. But now Mata out of health. Flashes up for Wolf. He's not going to chase for it. Mata dangerously low.
Does he go around again? He knows that there is no
Sure.
ward there.
At this point, if he goes around again, he's asking to die.
Yeah.
Because Blank will have been able to get close enough, and they've already used so much to try and attempt those things. I would consider all those small SKT victories. RNG was continually trying to aggress, and SKT absorbed it perfectly, giving them an advantage.
We also know that Elise versus Poppy, Echo versus Poppy has typically been an Echo-sided matchup, and look at this. Duke quite far ahead of Looper in this top lane fight. Of course, Blank's been farming as MLXG's ganks haven't meant much. And aside from the mid lane, it is SKT winning their lane matchups and ahead 300 gold.
Yeah, and even if we consider Duke's had a little bit of an off tournament because of his teleports, his laning phase and his ability to bully with the Echo has been best in tournament. I think especially when he's in this matchup, he's consistently won it by double-digit CS, and he's doing it almost double-digit at 4 minutes.
And it just makes another pressure point on the map, right? I mean, you have double TP already. Duke shoving into a Poppy, so he can't really join anything. You pick the Leona to win the lane. That's gone awry. Well, Duke Ben blows teleport to get back in.
And he's going to look for the stun. Won't quite land on a Looper. They both get their shields, neither of which really take any damage. That is now teleport advantage for Looper. Maybe the RNG top laner can use that.
And when you're shoving in, burning teleport back into lane is really greedy. You now have to dominate that lane because Faker's done the same thing. So if you get anything done in the bottom lane right now, it's actually not Wolf and Bang's fault, at least in my opinion. You're running a double teleport comp with a pushing bottom lane, and you burn both teleports to get an advantage in your own lane.
Yeah, it is selfish play, so to speak, but we also have to remember the way that RNG won the first game is because they were able to get advantages in all 3 lanes. So at the very least, SKT's hoping to get advantages in 2, but I absolutely agree. It puts the door open again for Mata to try and make a play since they've been able to recall and reset their health bars.
And it's a refillable potion for Mata, which I really like. His recall was really poor. He had very little money, but it means that he can kind of go for these plays and just, you know, use a recall as a way to get your health bar back up and refill that potion, and eventually pays for itself. We'll see if that goes any farther. Royal has, by the way, tied back up the gold lead. That's mostly because of Xiaohu. Look at this, 41 to 21 in minions. And this is a lane that Faker got a gank in, Xiaohu didn't.
And he teleported back to lane. Like,
right.
That's a minion wave pretty much that you should be up. Of course, he hasn't shopped yet, but...
Yeah, so technically he's laning against about 700 extra gold from Faker, and you would hope Faker would be able to come back unless it's really that much of an Azir favored matchup. And we know Xiaohu's Azir has been absolutely tremendous, and throughout most of the tournament, Xiaohu's had the highest CS differential at 10, and Faker had the second lowest. That didn't end up being the case in game 2, but here we're kind of seeing a return to that as the Azir is just punishing with his ranged advantage over Faker's Fizz.
And one of the reasons that Azir actually fell out a little bit in the LPL is that mid laners like Wayless, Aggression, Wayless and Pawn actually started going Abyssal Spectre's Cow on Azir, and you just couldn't kill him. And he does his job so well of protecting an AD carry. I mean, you pick Azir as much for his utility as you do his great teamfight prowess. So they were able to create windows where he should be weak and was still okay. I mean, I'm not expecting to see it in this game, but I'm just highlighting the fact that LPL teams are used to playing Azir against Assassins.
Now RNG, they know that there's an SKT ward up. They still want to go for the play. Mob's going to flash in. He will get on to Bang. And when will the stun come out? Not yet. Goes for Wolf instead. He's got a flash away from the root. A bit slow, honestly, on the deadly flourish from Woosh. That could have been chained together.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. They did not need to try and give Wolf a window to flash. If he would have precast it, they could have chained the CC.
Looper is going to get stunned up, though. Still durable enough. And actually, Duke can't land the phase dive thanks to Steadfast Presence.
Depends what you want out of the gank. They get the flash out of Soraka. Now when level 6 hits, they didn't burn the Ignite this time around. That should technically be a free kill onto Soraka. I use quotation marks, like, because it should be, but a lot of these should have worked as well.
If they can land the skill shots as well, because there's a chance that SKT will also be level 6. We really have to pay attention to the level breakpoints down in that lane if they attempt to go all in, because they're going to also have to be able to all in through the exhaust of Wolf. But with the heal and flash down, you'd expect it to be a kill. If we're going to try and pick a likely place for First Blood, that's the most likely place we would see First Blood, in the Summoner starved bottom lane against a level 6 Leona.
And once again, just want to highlight the most likely build path for Woosh. It's going to be that BF sword into...
Trying to interrupt the recalls.
Taking some damage for it, though. Sivir gets all the way back. Mata getting some solo XP, but he's going to share the rest. Wolf will be stuck out in lane, not able to buy a Sight Stone. And I don't believe Mata had backed either yet, so he will be going...
This can starve some experience.
Sight Stone money.
Yeah, we need to track this very closely. Bang is very close, so is Wolf. Woosh just hit level 6 and Mata's halfway through, so I actually don't think Mata will hit 6 before Wolf and Bang.
He shouldn't, no.
But there's a chance they could try and go all in before that even happens. The classic RNG with Jhin is they open up with the Jhin ultimate and then have the support follow in. They might be able to do that with level 6 Jhin. We'll see.
Unless Bang can spell shield to block it out and then flash away from Leona, that's going to be kind of the play here.
I really don't think Bang is the target. I think the Wolf has to be the target.
No, I think
Wolf
it's Bang trying to block for Wolf.
Yeah.
Like, that's how he lives, right? You did the quotation marks of a guaranteed kill. That's the outplay that SKT needs, is block a shot, have Soraka run.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is so telegraphed at this point. If they go all in with Leona, this is where SKT needs to teleport with their 2 solo laners and completely stuff the gank. They should be absolutely ready for this.
We'll see if they are. Jhin Trap popped away by Sivir. Her spell shield was used to regain mana, so Bang is now without that cooldown for 10 seconds.
They are already pinging out like the brush, where it needs to be warded, exactly what they want to do.
Duke has teleport, so does Faker, and Looper doesn't. So this would actually be very, very risky for Royal to go for an all-in just to get teleported on.
Yeah.
Still a close game. Nothing's broken yet. Bang again. Spell shielding out Jhin Qs, which you honestly have to do in the laning phase. For a lot of the time, Sivir just won't have that spell up because of how the AD carries play against each other. Duke gets a nice heal back off of fighting Looper. That top lane, 13 minions down for Looper. This is the losing lane. This is the one that Royal can't really play around.
Yeah, and the question is going to be, how much does RNG respect SKT's ability to execute a double teleport counter gank? I mean, SKT's been able to do it consistently throughout the regular season.
Time's starting to run out one more time. I mean, if SKT can slow down this pace, we've already seen that if they get to 15 minutes even, very confident in how they can play the latter stages of these games. And this time around, RNG, with the Leona, with the Elise, haven't been able to get a snowball lead. Credit one more time to SKT.
Mata now level 6. Still no flash right now on Wolf. It's down for 30 seconds more. No heal for 15 on Bang.
MLXG got counter jungle for the dragon that Blank took, but he was unable to secure the Rift Herald. So whenever you see those objectives go down and they're not traded, it's always an advantage to the team that is able to take the
Lupa went in. Duke went in.
Looking for the play.
Yeah,
They're just going to push it behind.
But they can match with teleport. Remember, the mid lane is key.
And it's going to be Faker showing up for this one. Looper very low on health with nowhere to go. Flashes away. Gets caught up. There's first blood. Faker taking him down. Burning the summoners.
Now they need to go bottom lane. As soon as Faker was teleporting and Duke was engaged to a fight, you'd expect them to fight bottom lane.
Well, you see if they can find that one. Still looking for the dive on an MLXG. Puts the red smite on Duke. Looks for the kill. He's not going to find it. No repel up. Duke's going to live. 2 kills in the top lane. SKT leveraging that so well.
And they still haven't pulled the trigger bottom. They just back away. Bang and Wolf able to nullify any aggression, and it's SKT coming up with a huge advantage.
In fact, it's the Graves heading to the bot side as well, and RNG could be attacked down here.
Yeah, and now they've had time to recall, so they could teleport in. They have the minion to pull off the gank.
Root on a Bang, but Bang's still alive. Now the push onto Mata. The shield is on, but he's going to take plenty of damage still. Woo's going to be next up. The stun only hits Blank, and he's going to survive this one. Now Mata running out of health rapidly, flashing over the wall. Duke not going to find much more collateral damage, not going to secure the kill just yet. And Xiaohu is here to keep everyone else alive, but it's 3 kills, 0 SKT.
Yeah, SKT playing this one so nicely by the book, but Xiaohu's on some type of mission here. There's a pink ward behind him, so SKT know he's here.
1 versus 3, though, is really, really greedy.
Yeah, a lot of summoners up
Here's
for
MLXG.
SKT as
They've
well.
got the Elise. Maybe he goes for the big play. Wolf does have flash, though.
Oh, one
and
way.
Just pushes Bang into the side. Elise gets a bit of damage, but Xiaohu forced to flash in, exhausted, survive his own engage. Gets nothing done.
First bad Azir ultimate I've seen from Xiaohu all tournament. Goes in and gets him the wrong way after the flash.
And it looks like the pressure is starting to get to this young Royal lineup. All of a sudden, another dive coming into the bottom lane.
He still might die.
But Faker still wants it. Happy to take turret aggro. Red Smite's on to buy a bit of time. Still out of health. And it's just Wolf taking it up. He was stunned, but he pops Wish and gets out. 4-0 SKT.
They're putting the pressure on, and this time, Faker's not behind. His team is not behind when he has 3 kills on Fizz, and he's been able to roam the map. Think about where he picked up these kills. 2 in the top lane, 1 in the bot lane, and Xiaohu, without having teleport, unable to match that, and because he was trying to roam down, also unable to take the mid lane turret, so all of these advantages stacking up for SKT now.
Yeah, the punish just hasn't been in the right area. Let's take another look at the mis-execution here. I mean, Mata and Woosh, they go aggressive. They at least hold the Leona ultimate, but they didn't expect 4 members to be down here. And Woosh just gets destroyed.
Yeah, SKT had such a huge win in the top lane, and RNG was a little bit slow to respond in the bottom lane, but also like we were expecting, hey, the Leona Jhin needs to go aggressive when the counter kick isn't there. It's not like that gives them freedom to win the 2v2 against Soraka and Sivir. They still have to land the proper combo.
They're going to land this combo. Wolf's going to get crit, and it's going to go down to Xiaohu. On the wrong side of the map, looking for wards. Wolf farther than he needed to be. Good execution by RNG. Finally a kill on the board. No perfect game now for the Koreans. 1,600 the gold deficit, but keep in mind, Faker's pushing this bot lane down. That's going to grow that one back to 2.5K. But with Bang having a recall, he's got some mana, but there's a risk for the outplay. Xiaohu's ulti's up soon.
Yeah, there certainly is. Blank comes in.
Nice Cocoon into Root, but look at that. They're unwilling to dive the rest of this. They had 4 versus 2 there and didn't pull the trigger, even though they have Repel.
And all of a sudden, they're not farming one of the lanes. In the bottom lane, huge win goes over to Faker one more time. He's just going to extend his gold advantage. And they're running out of options right now. RNG need to be able to force team fights. That's going to be impossible as both teleports come back up.
Duke level 11 looking for the play onto Looper. up 1,000 gold, but it's in his inventory right now. Look at that, winning the trade. Looper does get the shield, but Duke stops fighting when it comes in, so up in health. Faker, there you go, grabs the blue.
Yep. Another big early game advantage here for SKT. They were able to get this in the second game and won the game in 23 minutes. This one is a little bit less explosive, but they can keep the pressure up. When their double teleport comes back again, they're going to set up this 1-3-1. They're going to try and get deep wards, and they're going to try and catch RNG trying to come back once again.
And Faker's stacking a Dark Seal, by the way. He's got 6 on that already. He's going to be ridiculously huge this game.
Yeah, he certainly is, and I guess they're running out of options because they have a good response to the Poppy. Echo, sure, in the Poppy. We'll be able to go with it, at least for the time being, but who the heck responds to Faker? I mean, you can't leave Jin down there. You can't really siege into a Sivir. She's so hard to dive, especially with a Soraka there.
Yeah, I think Looper or Xiao who has to be there, and I think it's mostly Looper, matching the teleport. We'll see if that ends up being the matchups here. As they recall back, they just continue to leave that Fizz lane alone. There we go. Looper, you can see in the mini-map, is running to the bot side of the map, but that gives pressure to the top for SKT. They've gotten the first dragon. Looks like they're getting Rift Herald as well, as the Chinese do not have much wave or map control, but now they've got to run away as here comes the Chinese squad. Blue team is slaying Rift Herald. Mata wants in on the Wolf. One more crit will do 1,000,000 damage. Oh. And Wolf goes down to MLXG, but now on the backside, Woosh has to run as Duke and Bang are there.
Bang!
He's turning it back around, and Bang overcommits for that one. Now,
Faker's still here.
Back into Duke. Faker has joined the team and gets stunned up and pushed away. Duke ults to dodge Mata's Eclipse damage, and now Duke trying to run over the wall. He's not gonna die. What a jump, gets over just in time. Xiao cannot stuff him.
Yeah, it actually looks like Xiao who's pressing a little bit right there, but before the fight I was going to ask whether or not RNG would start playing with an element of fear. Clearly not. They were willing to go in, maybe even a little bit too eager to try and make the play.
Oh, look about
One
too
more
eager.
time.
Faker in front of the Cocoon. Shut down. 3 kills for MLXG.
And you said, are they going to play with fear? Right now they are playing with reckless abandon because they know if they do not make the play now, they will lose the game.
And unlike in Game 2 when RNG go for the play, it works. And they continually stuff Duke.
Looper, that was so impressive. That was amazing.
Oh, this is dangerous though, MLXG.
Yeah, MLXG running out of health. The collateral damage misses,
Here
jumps
comes Bang
to
as well.
the Rift Scuttle, trying to run, gets away from Wolf.
He's very fast.
He's real speedy. I think the assist mark is still on him.
Yeah, so it's 15 seconds he has to execute. He
Uh-oh.
also has empowered recall. Can he kill?
Oh my gosh!
He got it!
You're kidding me! MLXG solo kills
Faker's
him.
there.
Faker's gonna get him back, but that is where you say worth and all, chat.
Kind of. Because Fizz scales a lot harder. It's worth it to get a kill, and if he didn't go for the kill, he would have actually had time to go for the execute, but he was going for the empowered recall. I think he's a god for pulling that off, but the fact that the kill goes to Faker is really dangerous because the difference in Faker's gold versus the rest of the game is ever increasing. 1,400 gold above anyone else on RNG, and that could be a giant power spike for SKT.
Yeah, certainly could. He's gone with distortion already. He understands he needs to be everywhere. This is how they use Jin. They open up with the ulti, get the slow onto Wolf, then follow up with the CC out of Mata. You see the last crit with the Sunlight passive there. MLXG able to pick up a kill for himself, but this is the danger. You get collapsed on. Credit to RNG and Looper specifically for reacting pretty well. But that was such a risky play out of the Chinese squad.
And Bang really just chasing a kill on the side instead of just playing safely in the river, getting a little bit aggressive and definitely
Really
punished.
played.
Yeah, about a quarter of a second was the difference there between life and death, and Duke lived.
He did. SKT still up 600 gold thanks to the fact they've got one more kill on the map, and they've also stacked 2 dragons to none. So that is coming up. And if SKT keeps map control like this, well, Dragon 5 was one of the reasons that RNG won in Game 1. No reason it can't be relevant here in the third.
Do you reckon we'll see Eye of the Watcher on MLXG spawn?
Yeah, 100%. So he goes for upgraded Eye of the Watcher Sightstone a lot. He also generally builds Banner on his Elise as well. A little bit of utility coming out there. This time around, looks like he wants to go aggressive.
Abyssal Scepter looks like it's on the way.
Now Duke and Faker are the 2 big gold winners right now for SKT. He's got to survive them a little bit.
And you understand why he's going aggressive? I mean, 4 kills on Elise, you have to have power right now because he has so much of the gold advantage for his team. I mean, he's 1,000 up over Blanks. Graves. So if you can't make an impact, that kind of falls to the wayside. And if you are MLXG, you don't make an impact through utility. We've already seen that. You make an impact by killing people.
Yeah, and the way RNG is going to have to play these team fights is by chaining CC and also by getting the proper start with a couple bullets probably landing onto Wolf, because I feel like if they don't catch Wolf, SKT will win the fight. They will kite back properly while Ricochet and Graves do damage, and then they will get a re-engaged flank as RNG chases, and SKT will win.
And I
so
don't want
it's
to
all
remind,
about the chain of CC.
I don't want to remind SKT of darker times, but EDG won a tournament of catching Wolf. I mean, that was pretty much the story of last MSI.
Which tournament was that? Yeah, MSI last year?
Yeah, so potentially the same win conditions still on the board. However, I will say it is a much improved Wolf from last MSI.
Wolf making an interesting choice. I've always wondered if a player would ever make this switch in the gold generation items. He started with Spell Thieves to go for the laning phase power, which I totally get, and then he switched over now to a bunch of health regeneration, going Nomad's Medallion. I really like that. There's so much health you get back from doing this to stay alive and push it, but now Xiaohu has to get away from Faker, and it's not going to be easy. Flash through the wall, but Faker's going to chase. The exhaust means nothing, and even dodges the solar flare. But now to re-engage on the backside, a lot of damage on Wolf. One more shot. It hits Bang. Instead, he dodges one. The backline stays alive. No kills for Royal. A good dodge at the end by Wolf, and now the re-engage towards Duke. He's stunned up, but he is very durable. A 1 for 0, a great kill for Faker.
Yeah, but also 8 summoner spells burned, or 7 summoner spells burned on the side of SKT, whereas flashes still exist on Mata and Woosh for the next time we'd see a fight. So Faker makes the outplay, dodges the Leon ultimates, kills Xiaohu, but the next fight could be where RNG try and come back. This game is really close.
And you can see it's such a cute composition because they really do need to find Woosh's Jhin, because one more bullet hits Wolf or one more bullet hits Bang there, and they're completely gone. However, Faker looking for a flank. They do have teleport.
Looking for the play, chasing in. He's got a red buff and a blue buff, so this is just all kinds of powerful, this Fizz from Faker. But Looper able to take the Trinket Ward away and keep his side of the map safe. And that turret went down. Nicely done in the top side. SKT pushing the gold lead to almost 3,000 in this third game.
Yeah, and a 2-level advantage on Faker now after this. Faker's now level 14. He lands the fish before the knockback, and really there's no escaping Fizz at that point. He flashes through. Xiaohu puts down his exhaust to hope to live through the end, but this is the big thing right here. They can't quite finish Wolf there, and he actually flashed after the bullet had already missed him, but that could have turned it into a 1-for-1 if that last shot from the curtain.
And I just want to go back to the nerves of the young Chinese players, because Xiaohu flashed away from his team instead of taking the Fizz into his team. One of the things that you want to do against Fizz, because a lot of his damage, at least at the earlier stages, is on his E, is if he's going to kill you, make him kill you within 3 of your team members so they can turn around and blow him up before he has his Zhonyas. Doesn't do that this time around.
And also, Fizz is on quite short cooldowns. At this point, his Urchin Strike, which is his Q, is on a 3.7, and his Playful Trickster is on a 5-second cooldown. So when he kills you outside of the team, by the time you catch up to him, he gets those spells back again, which is what we saw in that last fight.
Yep. Dodged Solar Flare from Mata, tried to stun off Faker, couldn't get anything on him. And it's up to this Fizz.
Yeah, once he gets Zhonya's Hourglass, though, it's just going to take his annoyance to a whole new level.
Yes.
Already just trying to hard carry this series, actually.
Yeah.
The Zir game was insane. Even his first Fizz game, Faker played very well.
Let's see what he can do. Into the mid lane they go. Bang getting some turret damage down. Wolf keeping the health bars up, and a quick zoning silence from Wolf keeps them all happy. Actually able to reach the ward of the sweeper, but another auto attack scan, so blank jumps. And more wards are gone. RNG a bit dark now on this one.
And Faker, because he has this distortion, his flash is already nearly back up. Next team fight, it will be available. Xiaohu still has so long on that cooldown. And it just, once again, these short cooldowns, the ability to make repetitive play after repetitive play is definitely what Faker needs to win this game.
Yeah, and I think it's also a bit of an adjustment we've seen from SKT coming from the LCK to this MSI meta where it's a much faster paced game. So much of the setup game for SKT was just playing around long ultimate cooldowns and double teleport and people not forcing fights during the setup. But at SKT, when people are going for their layering of wards, teams are fighting and getting caught out of position here. So this adjustment by SKT to go to this Fizz pick with now distortion as well as cooldown boots is allowing them to fight more frequently and keep up with RNG.
And they really do want to fight. We actually see the full upgraded active for Wolf. I'm forgetting the name. Talisman of Ascension. Talisman of Ascension coming in for Soraka. So again, more go buttons, even if Sivir's on the hunt is down.
Faker's got a Magias.
Yeah, and he
I don't
also
even care about
saw
Wolf's
Magias
items
coming out of Sivir. Or coming out of Fizz, sorry.
Faker has one mission, and that is to crush RNG for a second game in a row. And look, with a 5-1-0 scoreline, he's definitely on his way to doing it. The danger is you're a melee assassin. If you ever get picked before a team fight, so much of your team's advantage.
Looking for this one now. Shahu puts the wall down early, tries to get it over. Look at that in the back line is Faker. They will turn it around. The stun lasts long enough. Yes, they take him out. Now for more. The Poppy ulti, though, means no one got hit by the Deadly Flourish. Mid laners both trade, which is actually better for the team without the Magi Soul Stealer.
Yep.
But the Dragon still goes over to SKT. That's number 3. They continue to stack up the buff. Sure, any form of stalling right now, if you are in a Azir composition against a Fizz, is good, but you already saw the danger. The fish doesn't really do all that much. He misses his E, flashes over the wall and one-shots the Azir.
Yeah, still really strong. Losing his stacks does cost him a fair bit of AP. He had 8 stacks right there. That goes to 0. And even though that fight was 1-for-1, the damage dealt to champions wasn't even close. RNG ended very low after that fight, which is why SKT was able to pick up that Dragon.
Yeah, even with a dead 6-2 Fizz, so this is good for SKT, honestly. Continue to control the map, and you can just watch the damage output here.
CBLOL, as the fish flies over the wall, Shahu immediately peels around, and Faker just flies in there, but his Zhonya's wasn't completed, and they're also able to chain CC onto him. Miraculous, the Wolf almost got the heals through. If he has Zhonya's, he actually gets to live through that play because Wolf would be able to support with healing afterwards.
And I take it all back. Don't know why I doubted. He actually nailed the E on 2 people as well. That's why they were so far chunked out. So just
flashing over the Azir wall as his Trickster was coming down.
Definitely beautiful stuff, and you can see 1945 damage, roughly the health bar of Xiaohu.
Xiaohu again.
Yeah, that means his ultimate didn't actually hit anyone. It was a peeling ultimate, but it never got the knockback off.
I think it was the correct use of the ultimate, but Faker was just like, anything you can do, mate, I can just do better right now. So Xiaohu coming up with a heads-up play, but Faker just proving he's better.
Yeah, but RNG's going to try and keep the pressure up here. They accidentally double pink-warded the brush, so they really want to get a pick off of that vision.
You say it's accidental. Then Blank walks in there, just tilts off the face of the planet.
Because it takes him 10 minutes to clear it.
I was going to say 7 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes to kill all those.
Here he goes. Oh, you feel bad.
Well, he's got Soraka to help him out. Soraka actually kills wards faster than Graves.
Yeah, as of like, well, I guess as of the rework, but you know, back in like 2012 or so, the Warriors just had a real health bar, and it took supports like 7 years to kill them. 80 carries would like 2-shot them. Mid lane still being controlled by SKT, 4,000 almost their gold lead. Static shift done on Saber means great wave from it. Now the attempt on the bang.
Down, they got the slow.
One slow, there's the second attempt. Shot's gonna land for 338.
But unless they're following up that initiation with CC, Soraka's just going to heal it right back up. They're trying to set up this siege, but they no longer have their soft initiation spell. SKT absorbing these moves from RNG very well.
And he's back to full health. Okay, not anymore, but now the attempt at the top. Oh, geez, Looper running out of health pretty fast. Faker not going to keep going for it. With his ulti down, he realized he can't keep getting the persistent damage he needs.
He actually just respected the rotation. As soon as Leona stepped out of mid lane, they realized that they didn't have that warded. Swifty boots on Leona means that she would get down there relatively quickly, and he was just like, I can't kill this guy in time. Instead, I'm going to do Baron.
They're
Looper was low.
This one.
And if they're timing their teleports as well, Loopers would not be up yet.
Looking for the play. We do see RNG coming back in, though. Wolf losing a fair bit of health. And here's LXG spotting them out. 3,000 health on Baron. Will he go in for this one? 2,200, 2,400. Going
ultimate.
up and down. Doesn't land Solar Flare, but the fight is on. It's onto the back line. Woosh has to kite away. And Xiaohu looking to stop down Faker. The ulti on the back side. They got him for Mata, but it's still Duke looking for Woosh. He gets the kill picked up. It's a whole bunch of kills for SKT. Xiaohu will be going down. Looper looking for a little bit more, but Wolf keeping the team healthy. Looper the last one alive. 1 versus 3 though, and he's gonna get stunned up by Duke unless he flashes away. Will do so, but still getting chased down. Gets around the backside. This should be the ace for the Koreans. A 5 for 2 as he chases onto Looper. One more phase dive should trigger the passive, but it ticks out. One more attack will do it. The tackle doesn't mean anything. There's the ace. SKT winning in game 3.
And great setup there by SKT. Faker chunk Looper out in the bottom lane, recalled back to base, immediately teleported in. And when you have Soraka on your team, you are not nearly as punished for the start of the Baron fights unless the other team can get a clean initiation onto you, which is where in this fight, when Mata whiffs his spells, it is hugely punishing for RNG.
Yeah, it certainly is. Faker stays in Baron pit, but as you mentioned, you know, he gets a heal and he's completely fine. Overcommits here, but they're still able to get the fish and clean up MLXG. Xiaohu nearly saves a team fight over the wall, But honestly, SKT just had the jump on RNG, and it was that timing that they took their window and they were able to capitalize on it.
I'm actually surprised Looper flashed away here because I thought he was going to be able to get chased down anyway. And they need that flash from Looper if they want to catch Wolf at the start of the team fight. Because one thing about Soraka sometimes is she's even better when with something like a Kindred that can save her when she gets dove on. But Wolf is kind of all on his own if RNG can get an initiation to him. But they just haven't been able to do that, and SKT is winning fight after fight.
And with that in mind, they've got another Magi Soul Stealer. Duke has picked up his, sitting on 137 ability power with his current build here.
And you know, I actually like it because he needs to be able to find Whoosh and take him out of these fights. We've seen that he's been able to get onto him time and time again.
Yeah.
Especially when he goes down into ultimate. So, you know, why not give him another little bit of damage to be able to utilize that?
Jhin doesn't really have tools for dealing with Echo, especially a tank Echo with even more damage because of the Soul Stealer. Add that to the fact that Mata is not going to be peeling for him. He's going for the initiation, so it's really on Duke and Faker to carry this game.
Duke just gets a shield, ignores the fact that Looper was even trying to deal damage to him, and that turret is now below half health. SKT in control here, 5,000 gold up, 31 minutes in. Certainly a closer game than game 1 or 2, but it is still the Koreans in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and it's looking more and more like SKT is starting to run away with this one. There's just not the answers right now for RNG to stop Duke and Faker, as well as Bang, who's gone with the aggressive build, because who's really going to be able to pay attention to the Sivir in this game when you're either trying to assassinate Wolf or just deal with the Faker assassination jumping in your team? There's just too many things for RNG to focus on.
The Mata pops the shield, absorbs a lot of punishment, still gets taken out, and the stun lands on the Xiaohu. What a great play by Duke, a double kill for Bang, and he's going to get so much more. Whoosh has got nowhere to go. Down goes his health bar, triple kill for Bang.
And Looper doesn't even burn teleport. That was just such a clean pick out of SKT. They double pink Ward River, set up the Baron bait perfectly, and then pull the trigger on a great initiation.
Yep, and this is the series tilting in SKT's favor. The way they've been able to manipulate vision right here and then use the speed differential from Sivir to force these fights has been majestic. And after their first game where they looked a little bit sloppy, again, SKT is looking more and more like the team people expected to see at MSI.
And now Royal Never Give Up has to find something to do to turn the series around and off the game for the flash for Faker. MLXG just gets deleted. Blank says, I'd rather have the kill than you. Thanks, collateral damage takes it for him. But Dragon number 4, Baron already on SKT. They are sizably ahead.
Baron buff, 4 Dragons, and 2 14-stack Soul Stealers.
And this is what we're talking about, you know, straight away. Mata thinks he's safe to clear that ward. He isn't. He gets burst down before he even uses a spell. Duke perfectly clips Xiaohu on the edge of that. Whoosh, you don't have flash. You're down next. And they don't chase. They just straight away rotate back to the Baron, make the high percentage play.
At this point, it's desperation for RNG. Xiaohu would try and go for a miracle initiation, but he doesn't even have his Zoni's Hourglass completed.
One thing I will say, no one on the team of SKT has any range, and they haven't yet built up the Banner of Command. So we have seen it time and time again, out of SKT, out of CLG, there is still a window where RNG can play around turrets and, you know, just concede the next 10 minutes and try and scale into the 6-item stage of the game. It looks like it's a long way out, but we've seen stranger things.
But I also think SKT is incredibly well set up for a 1-3-1 to negate their range disadvantage, because Xiaohu can only be in one place at once, and Whoosh and Looper's wave clear is not good against Baron minions. So I think SKT is going to set up the 1-3-1 and just try and brute force their way into the base.
And you see it right there. Mid lane already went down. Duke just got the top lane tier 2, and Faker's in the bot lane to look for that 3rd one, or the 6th one, depending on how you're counting in this one. Baron buff still on for a minute, and they've already got that Dragon 4 we talked about, so they're also pretty resilient to turret damage as champions. Faker's down there, and there's the turret falling. 3 2-2 turrets taken within 30 seconds of each other.
And one more time, who do you send to Faker's lane? You have to send Poppy. All of a sudden, Duke, he can probably take out either Xiaohu or Whoosh as well. It's just no good response.
You can't send Xiaohu because he needs to clear the mid wave, but they
got
can
to go
try
for
it all
this
in.
on to Bang, and they will land that. Collateral damage to get Blank out of this one. A bit of wave clear from the Jhin ulti, and they bought a bit of time. Looper sees Duke, they fight back and forth, but Faker is inside the base with the Baron buff, with the blue buff, now running away. He got slowed though, he got rooted, and Faker overextended. He gets deleted. 2 kills picked up for Royal.
And RNG pull the trigger as they have done all tournament long and punish the over-aggression. all 3 waves, not on the turrets at the same time. So Mata just goes and catches out 2 members.
Yep, Bang unable to flash during that CC chain. And then I do have to make a callback to the Rylais with the Ludens because MLXG got the slow from the Ludens, which allowed them to catch up to Faker. Maybe they would have had some other spells, but that was a cool little interaction. SKT still in huge control, but RNG making some big desperation plays.
And 30 seconds of no Faker is 30 seconds of most of SKT's gold not being here. So mid lane's gonna go down. How much more can they grab? It's still 10,000 their deficit, but they have 20 seconds and a new minion wave to work with. Azir turret up on the flank. Ulti almost back up for Leona. If SKT defends this improperly, they're gonna try though right now. Duke is in the front line, Woosh low on health, and he's gonna get popped. He's deleted, the Ricochet doing so much. Mata forced to run, Duke takes him down, Solar Flare hits nothing. It's a triple kill in a 4 versus 5. Make that so many going down. Looper, the last one alive. They don't care about the Azir.
Beautiful
the blank flash comes in. That's gonna be Looper losing more health. He finds a stun, but he's not gonna find the damage. And here comes Faker teleporting into the bot lane to keep this one going forward. Looper just running for dear life. Yeah, he's buying time, but his teammates are 25 seconds away from respawning, and they're inside the base already.
Goodness.
SKT. This chase doesn't mean much because Faker and Bang are inside the base, taking it down. Bottom inhibitor is dead. Nexus turret's here as Duke has also joined the squad. Bang is there, the ace finally comes through, and this should be the end of this one. SK Telecom T1 from Korea are 1 game away from avenging their loss to China from last year's MSI.
Yeah, and that game was just Faker at the start getting the kills rolling, and then that enabling everyone else on SKT to succeed. Those fights had everyone honed in on Faker, which allowed the Soul Stealer Echo and the fully offensive early build Sivir to wreak havoc in team fights, and RNG gets completely shut down.
And that's who I want to talk about, Duke. The difference between game 1, 2, and 3, Duke has got consistently better throughout this series. Finishes the game 6-0 and 8, finally stepping up as that secondary threat that SKT needs. And you could just see, Woosh was never comfortable in the team fights because Echo always found him.
Yeah, it was really good play, honestly. The game 1 strategy from Royal Never Give Up, they couldn't replicate that anymore. The Nidalee got banned away. Even if they wanted to play that Trundle into Poppy matchup or Ryze into Poppy, well, that same early pressure wasn't there. In game 3, they pull out the Elise, try for that pressure again. They even got the mid lane win, but their Poppy Echo matchup wasn't good enough. And so it was Duke's turn to take over, win the lane, start crushing games.
Yeah, SKT definitely adapting very well to the best-of-5 format. I think a lot of that just has to do with Faker's play. His ability to win both sides of this Azir matchup is putting RNG in a very difficult bind, but that's not to say that they still can't make substantial adjustments heading into the elimination games, because now next game wins for SKT and they get 2 chances. So RNG, if they're going to make a change, they have to make it now, since they've lost twice in a row with similar strategies.
And I think it does have to be where the focus on the map. Stop trying to pinch top lane. I mean, stop going all in aggressive. Like, you need to get back into Faker's lane. That's how they started this beautiful role that RNG went on, was actually by getting MLXG into the mid lane time and time again during the group stage and snowballing Xiaohu. Faker has just proven that after 4 days rest has come back better than ever.
Yeah.
Xiaohu needs some help.
And it's not like he was magical. He didn't win the laning phase. He was down actually half CS, but his roams were so good. The teamwork from SKT was amazing. So a beautiful game 3 win by them. 2-1 the lead in the series. 1 more sends it home for them into the finals. But for now, let's check in with Dash at the analyst desk.
Very much, gentlemen. SKT moving to 2-1 on the series. They're going to be very happy with that. And I got to say that all in all, they're looking a lot cleaner in their 2 more recent wins versus that initial game of the series.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think we're well on our way for matching the accurate 3-1 prediction of SKT1 taking the series.
That's why I didn't gloat after the first game, because I knew this was coming.
Because you knew they'd pick up 1 game. All right, well, let's talk through it a little bit. Again, we see the Soraka coming through and now playing a very pivotal role. As the casters both just mentioned, Faker playing well on both sides of the Azir matchup now.
Well, I do want to jump on this mid lane matchup because Fizz doesn't beat Azir in lane, and Faker didn't beat Xiaohu in lane. What ends up going wrong for RNG is the fact they want to snowball bot lane with this Leona pick, obviously into the Soraka, and have the Elise coming down early gank, and then win that lane due to early ganking, and then focus mid lane with Elise and Azir to shut down a Fizz. And that actually makes a lot of sense. And you just sacrifice top lane.
Except that winning that lane is a lot harder
Of
than
course.
most people think, right?
Yes.
Everyone's just like, oh yeah, Soraka, her weakness,
Just stun her.
gank her, just burn her,
Easy.
ignite. We're fine now, right?
Yeah, Soraka Sivir is against this Leona Jhin matchup is actually very fascinating because there's so many layers to it. Because if you go in as Leona early, you have to press stun early because then otherwise you risk getting into the silence field and then you can no longer proc it. With spell shield, generally what you want to do against the Sivir is you want to go in, fake the auto, she spell shields, then walk next to her. But then with silence field, that's another factor you have to factor in. So we saw Mala try and dance around it. They went a little ham level 1-2. They didn't respect the level 2.
Too hard,
trades
honestly.
the out sustain, but they had some winners opportunity. And at the same time, though, Wolf and Bang, I mean, these guys really played not to lose. They never played to win this lane. They could have won this
Right.
lane by like 20 CS if they like put the foot on the pedal, but they always just avoid losing.
Yeah, and that tacks on really well with Fishio's point. SKT, as we said before, they're not playing to win these lanes, right? They're playing to win the team fights. Both of those bottom lanes bought a lot of pick potential to the mid game, right? We saw the long range initiation from Jhin, combo that into the stun. But the same thing with the Sivir, what SKT are doing multiple times, sitting on a pink ward, everybody's waiting there. You have this Assassin Fizz ready to run in. They pop the Sivir ultimate and immediately get a pick for themselves as well.
Yep.
And that mid game, you know, the Fizz not only in other lanes, but also picking people off.
You know, let's get the replay because it actually shows exactly
go.
where it goes wrong for RNG. Now, this is what SKT have changed and does really well now, is they react a lot. So it's actually a gank that's being set up. You can see the least on your minimap moving to top lane. And because there's a double teleport on the side of SKT, they can react with Faker coming in. I don't think you should ever gank this top lane as RNG. This lane is dead for you. Let the poppy loose. Don't try and gank it because you cannot react to this TP. It becomes a 2v2, Faker gets a kill. And what then ends up happening is now the jungler is shown on top side. That means you can't actually play aggressive on bottom side now, and they do it anyway.
And the other thing is, after that, sticks around at the minions. They just saw you use your repel.
Yeah.
You know this dive is going to come.
That's the micro mistake. This is the macro mistake.
The macro mistake here, and they don't use information very well. RNG sometimes fail to adapt with what information is on the map. When it comes to the bigger map plays, sending your jungler top is the mistake first already, not trying to set it up for a bot gank. We even saw at level 1. They went for a trade where they went super ham, and then 30 seconds later, the Elise shows up, and then it's like, why didn't you guys synchronize this? You know, maybe use your CC together, because then you can get through spell, shield, silence, and a flash, and still generate a kill. And all Leona Jhin need is 1 or 2 kills to start snowballing, because suddenly that sustain from Soraka isn't enough to beat your all-in, regardless of when you choose to go.
And those kills need to happen before Fizz can TP in and have an impact in the bottom lane. So when you all in level 2 and use your offensive summoner, then your jungler walks in at level 3. You don't have the same kill pressure suddenly anymore. It's very uncoordinated. And once that bot lane fails to get rolling, suddenly you can't really sit and camp the mid lane either because you're not winning the bot lane anymore and you will always lose top. And then they just kind of panic, like, all right, let's try and gank top then. And that's the worst you can do, because then the TP comes in, you snowball there, bot lane can't play aggressive, they get dove, and then the game is basically over.
Yeah, so SKT out to a very early lead in terms of kills, but we did see about 5 minutes later into the game, RNG, they're going to pick up a little bit more. And this was kind of the
equalizer turning point. The things that RNG are good at, they are incredibly good at, and that is looking for picks or aggression in the mid game. We also have a replay of that. They managed to find picks here every time. I really like this combo where you open with Jhin ulti. It's a good adaptation because there is an execute to that Jhin ulti, so generally you want to use it last. But here they just layer the CC and they force SKT to kind of overcommit too, because they're already winning the fight right now, and this is a good turning point for RNG.
Not really sure what Bang was doing in the end. Like, I have no mana, boys. I know my Echo could probably finish the Jhin, but ends up over-chasing, and Fake also missed, of course,
This is huge, though, the Azir miss here.
This is another point about the individual play, though. You know, Xiaohu had a couple of those instances where his Azir, he did not look comfortable, or, you know, whatever the reason. There were a lot of misplays.
Also, the fact that he goes for the first pick Azir when the LeBlanc was available, right? So he could have just went for the counter pick too. Like, I think he seems no longer have confidence in the counter matchup, because usually he would just give over the Azir, pick the LeBlanc if they take it, and then just wreck him in lane.
How much of that, though, is the fact that now SKT is showing up to these team fights and RNG is saying we need something that's a little bit more secure from a champion perspective in the team fights, as opposed to looking for just that single carry? I
mean, so you have to do both parts, right? You can draft for that style, and then they have to also set up for that style. Multiple times, you know, they're there. They don't have the front line in a very similar similar area where they were trying to do one of those team fights, and story could be completely different, but not setting up the pink wards in advance, trying to get everybody there ready for the fight.
All right, well, real quickly before we go to break, I want to take a look at the fight that kind of put the nail in the coffin for RNG. SKT picking up 5 kills, 4-2, plus Baron off the back end of it.
It was close, but it's Mata here just going in and honestly, yeah, whiffing everything.
Yeah, as soon as you're done this, you're kind of useless now as a Leona, obviously missing everything, but this is the fight you talked about, Kobe, where Poppy isn't there in the front line. And it's a fun game to play Echo when not only do you see Azir, and Echo is really good into Azir because flanks are very strong against against Azir. You also see a Jhin. And like, oh, that is gold. And when you have so much mobility in CC versus an AD carry who can't escape, and your team is winning early on, so obviously Duke ends up having a monster game because he basically got spoon-fed everything.
Well, yeah, of course, Duke is finally happy that he doesn't have to be the one taking this matchup on the other foot there, right? He's finally able to get actually a good matchup that he should be winning, and he does. Yep. Maybe could have won a little bit harder in the 1v1, but he definitely did his job.
Yeah, we saw how the lack of frontline really influenced that fight, though, because yes, Mata whiffs a little bit, but if there's a Poppy there at least with Steadfast present, maybe they can cancel a Fizz Q, any dashes going in, maybe just slow them down a little bit, but he arrived when the fight was already over, and then, yeah, Poppy is pretty much useless.
All in all, SKT moved to 2-1. They're going to have brought this series to match point for themselves. We'll be right back to see if RNG can extend this series one more game. We'll be right back here in Shanghai in just a moment. We'll see you soon.
I was going to say also about the